everyone. Now I hope you tried some of these before jumping right to my video. I want you to try a few, see if you can figure out before I talk about them. But let's see how you did. A water tower is located 300 feet from a building. Okay. From a window in the building, an observer notes the elevation to the top of the tower is 60 and the angle of depression down is 30. How tall is the tower and how high is the window? All right, so I'm hoping it's obvious that we have two right triangles here, one here, which can give me this portion of the tower, which would also give me the height at the window. So the window height is going to be the x in this scenario. And then we have this guy right here, which we don't know which is y. So the tower is going to be the two of them added together. All right, so let's see if we can figure this out. So the first thing we're going to look at is this guy. Now we know this distance here is the 300. So we have opposite and we have adjacent again. So I'm going to do tan 30 equals opposite over adjacent. Again, this distance here is the same thing as the 300. And tan 30, I like to use the 1 over radical 3. Okay, cross multiply. So that makes 300 over radical 3. Now, again, I'm noticing 3's like crazy here. That usually means that cleans up nice. So this makes, if you multiply it by radical 3, 300 radical 3 over 3, which then becomes 100 radical 3 equaling x. So that's the height of the window. So we've got that now. Boom. Okay. Now the next part, we know this is 60, right? Again, that's opposite. And we know this distance is 300 again. So I'm going to do tan. Tan of 60 equals y over 300. And 60 is just radical 3. So y equals 300 radical 3. Now that's not quite the answer yet. The tower height are x and y added together. So this is going to be 100 radical 3 plus 300 radical 3. So the tower is 400 radical 3. And that turned out to be a really, really pretty question. All right, all we have to do now is figure out the bottom one. Now the bottom one is a lot more elaborate than the other ones. So this one's we're going to have to concentrate a little harder on. So if you haven't taken a moment to try it yet, you should pause the video, try it first, and then we'll hop into it. Now I am hoping you paused it first before I dive into the sucker to see if you get stuck at all. All right, a woman standing on a hill sees a flagpole that she knows is 60 feet tall. So we know all of this whole thing is 60. Okay. The angle of depression to the bottom is 30, and the angle of elevation is 45. Okay. What is the distance x? All right, now let's take a look at this. These are my right angles. Now, we know this is x. Now, I'm wondering if you notice that that's 45. That's 45. This has to be 45 because all the angles of a triangle have to add up to be 180. Well, guys, if these are both 45s, it means that that portion right there is x. Now, if this is 30, that means this is 60. So this triangle is not isosceles. So we need to make it a different letter, y. So now I know x plus y, those two together have to make the 60. Now our goal is to find x. We have to keep that in mind. So let's take a look at what we have here. Right here we have 30, right? That's opposite, that's adjacent, right? So I can do tan 30 equals opposite over adjacent. But we have two different variables in the same question. So how do we handle that? Well, we handle that using this guy. We know that if we subtract over the x, y would equal 60 minus x. Now I can substitute that in for him. So this becomes 1 over radical 3 equals 60 minus x over x. So anytime you have a situation with two different variables in the same question, use another piece of information that you know to substitute in. Now, I'm going to cross multiply. I get x equals 60 radical 3 minus x radical 3. What are we trying to solve in this question? We're trying to find x. That means I need to get everything with x on one side of the equal sign and everything without x on the other. So I'm going to add him over to be with the other x. This now makes x plus x radical 3 equals 60 radical 3. Now we've done questions like this all semester where we have a tricky equation. Anytime two things where they have something in common like this, we factor it out. If I factor this out now, I'm going to factor out an x. 1 plus radical 3 is left behind. And now to solve for x, we're going to divide by that. So x equals 60 radical 3 over 1 plus radical 3. And we did it. We solved for x. Now, if you really wanted to clean this up, let's talk about how you would do that. Now, all the other ones we cleaned up had a simple radical in the denominator. The way you clean this up is by using the conjugate. So this is good review. If you wanted to clean this up, you would take 60 radical 3 and you would multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. Then I'm going to distribute. This makes 60 radical 3 minus, when you do this guy times this guy, radical 3 times radical 3 is 3. 3 times 60 is 180. That would be the top. And on the bottom, we have conjugates. 1 times 1 is 1 minus 3. So that would make 60 radical 3 minus 180 over negative 2. And that, everybody, cleans up to be 90 minus 30 radical 3. You're like, well, how the heck should you get 90? Well, I did negative 180 divided by negative 2 made positive 90. 60 divided by negative 2 is negative 30. And there you go. So this answer was acceptable. But I wanted to show you how that was very, very capable of cleaning up to be a little bit cleaner of an answer.